of our fundraisers. That is 100% Lila. She will tell you that the lemonade stand was her idea, and it was. We have home infusion, and we had our nurses in-house being trained, and our representative from BioMarin asked if we were excited for Disney Family Conference 4 years ago, and I kind of gave her one of these. Like, that's not exactly feasible financially for me. And Lila said, I know, we'll have a lemonade stand. And I kind of brushed it off at first, and she really wanted to give it a shot. So I said we would give it a try, and if we raised enough money to make it to Disney, we'd go. And if we didn't, we would donate the money to the National NPS Society. And as life does, it worked out. And our community showed up big time, and we were able to make it to Disney Family Conference. And the following year, she wanted to continue the lemonade stand, and because Family Conference was virtual, we donated all of the money that we raised with the lemonade stand. So where my work as her mom came into play, we make homemade lemonade. So every Wednesday, we get a case of lemons, and we squeeze about 40 pounds of lemons and make homemade lemonade. And every single Thursday during her infusion, that's her fun thing to do. And she's the boss, and she loves it. And we have friends in our community that built this amazing little lemonade stand, and we set it up in front of the house. And she sits out there in her recliner, and everybody that comes to the lemonade stand gets a cup of lemonade with a side of awareness. We don't charge for the lemonade, which keeps us under the radar for all other licensing and all those purposes. So we give away lemonade, and we just say you can donate whatever you would like. Some people show up every single week. They don't want any lemonade. They just want to donate. They just want to say hi to her, and it's something fun for Lila to do. Another fundraiser that we do is the Egging for MPS fundraiser, and that was started by another MPS 6 family, and we saw how much fun it was, and as soon as Lila saw that, she was all in. So we advertise filled Easter eggs, and on Easter Eve, Lila dresses up like the Easter Bunny and goes to the houses in our community and hides Easter eggs outside at $10 a dozen. And it's been wildly successful. It's a ton of fun. And every year, those same families contact us again. So the first year we did about 35 houses. This past year, Lila had just had a spinal fusion surgery, so we put a cap on it. But a lot of people reached out, and they're looking forward to this next year doing more and reaching more people in surrounding communities. That's something that anybody can do, and it was something that we could do that was COVID friendly at the time, because you just send in your donation, and then when you're asleep, we don't make contact with anybody. We just show up and hide Easter eggs. All the kids had a blast with it. So if anybody is ever interested in joining us in doing that in your own community, feel free to reach out to me, because it was one of the most fun fundraisers that we've ever done. Another thing that we do in the spring, Lila is pretty passionate about picking up trash. She does not allow us to walk past a piece of garbage laying on the ground without picking it up. So she wanted to get more people involved with that, and so we decided to compare that to her body, that her body is missing an enzyme and it lacks the ability to take out the trash. So please go out, pick up some trash, take a picture of it, share it on social media. And everything that we do, and we share it on social media, it's so easy to add that donate button to the National NPS Society. So we do every week when we're done with the fundraiser, we'll post how much money we raised on there and add that donate button so that people that see it that weren't able to make it to the lemonade stand can donate to the cause and support what we're trying to do as well. We also share things on Instagram in hopes that, you know, if we get 10,000 views on a video, maybe that one person can be that person that will give us all the exposure that we need, or all of the support. We just keep going, we keep trying, and the fundraisers have been growing every year, and I'm excited to see how much it continues to grow in the coming years. And if anybody would like to join us in the egging for MPS or clean up trash for MPS, feel free to reach out to me on social media, and I would love to help in any way that I can, because we really have a lot of fun with our fundraisers.
Thank you. I think you can all tell there's a variety of things that can be done to support the society, and we as a society will support you in doing that. Find what you're passionate about. What do your kids like to do? What do you have access to? There was a slide, which I don't know what happened to it, but don't go. On August 24th at 7 o'clock, we are going to be on a Zoom to talk more about this. If any of you want to join us or have any questions, all of our contact information is in the program book. You can always find me at the Society as well. But let's give a nice round of applause for our families that have shared their stories.
So.
I think Lila needs a franchise.
What's that?
She's gonna have to franchise
Yeah.
the lemonade stand.
You betcha. Maybe. You just wait and see. Maybe that's in store. Who knows?
As we start to transition and we invite our sibling panel up, I'd like to be able to introduce Carol Bryant, who is our Pathways Director at the National MPS Society, who's going to be moderating the session.
It's on now.
Okay, thank you. Ready, girls? Welcome everyone to our sibling panel discussion, where we have 3 super siblings who are here to share some of their insights in this journey that they've been on, not one that they requested to be on, but they have their story to tell and story to share. So how about each one of you just introduce yourself, where you're from, and a little bit about your sibling.
My name's Rebekah Holland. I am from Owasso, Oklahoma, which is in the Tulsa area, and I have a 12-year-old little sister who was adopted from China and has MPS type 6.
Hi everyone, my name is Jasmine Henriquez. I'm from Prosper, Texas. That's around the Dallas area. I have a younger sibling. His name is Dominic. He's 12 years old and has MPS too.
I'm Gabriela Diaz. I'm 18 and my brother is 8 with MPS 1.
Okay.
I'm from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
And if you each would just kind of share how you believe MPS changed your upbringing, whether the good, the bad, just anything you'd like to share about how you think your upbringing was different perhaps than your non-NPS sibling peers?
I think it kind of, for me personally, I grew up really quickly and I matured a lot faster than most of my peers because I felt a sense of responsibility for my younger sister after that, and it just kind of forced me to grow up a little bit faster than most.
I agree with Rebekah on that. I grew up very mature. I knew how to become independent. I grew up independent at a very young age. I've learned how to become positive. You know, seeing all these boys and how happy they are, it just kind of, their positivity like flows on you, and you just learn from that so much.
Yeah, being the oldest out of the two siblings I have, just being the younger sister and had to like grow up pretty fast and take care of my sister, which is now 15, while my parents are taking care of my brother and swapping at the hospitals.
Can you maybe share with us a little bit about your sibling and from your perspective about their diagnosis and just their limitations, and also you know, just kind of what maybe your special connection with them is?
I would say it's watching her go through all that was really hard, and I didn't understand it for years, so I did research projects on it in school, I did presentations in school, I worked hard to get knowledge so that then I could be more prepared mentally, and I enjoy spending time with her. We have a lot of common interests between music class and going and reading books together, and it's just finding those common things that we can do and putting a lot of effort into those areas.
My brother was diagnosed when I was 7, so it was kind of hard for me to comprehend. You know, there's something wrong with your brother. He's not like a normal kid. So it was kind of hard for me growing up just to try to realize that, you know, normalcy wasn't a thing anymore. And I think the special bond me and him have is just, it's incredible. He loves dancing, I love dancing, and so I guess we kind of like share a passion with that. And he's just so positive, and he has so much energy, and just, I think that's where we share a special connection, and just, yeah, I love him so much.
Yeah, at the time when my brother got diagnosed, I was 11 and not knowing what's wrong with him and not understanding. I just knew he was sick. But my brother is very positive. He always likes to cheer me and my sister on in band at our competitions. He even likes watching football. He will even like dance or march the show in our living room, or even pretend that he's on the football team. So watching him like going through that like a little kid is like very happy to see that. Like it's just, he's just a believable, amazing brother I could ever ask for.
How does having this connection with your NPS sibling, how has it influenced your life course? And maybe this is a great opportunity for you to maybe talk about what your plans are.
So I am planning on pursuing a degree in music education at the University of Arkansas, and it hasn't really affected my life plan necessarily, but it's changed how I'm approaching my degree and how I'm going into being a future educator, and that every kid is different and needs a teacher that can understand that and alter their teaching style to foster into their learning style, and that every kid is different.
For me, it was just being around tons of medical professionals. I just have loved the idea of becoming a nurse. That's what I wanted to pursue in the university. So just by all the doctor's appointments, all the surgeries, all the sedations has just, I've seen so many things that I guess not other, you know, normal teenage kids would go through. And it's just made me more aware and more senseful that medical professionals and health professions really do so much for these kids and so many other people, so I want to give back to our community as well.
I'm currently about to be a freshman, and I'm going to Roger State University to go for my bachelor's in nursing. I wanted to be a marine biologist for the longest time, but when my brother got diagnosed and watching him go through the process, I found more of an interest in the medical field. So that's how it affected my plans, which for the better. I like giving back to the community, and I just have a nice personality to help others.
Now, all three of you are leaving home, correct? Or are you staying home to attend college?
I'm leaving home.
Okay.
I'm leaving home.
I'm staying home.
You're staying home. So, do you have any concerns about leaving home and leaving your sibling, or do you feel like you can go off and spread your wings without worrying?
I mean, there's a bit of concern, of course, because being the oldest, you're the first to go.
Mhm.
It's all new. You don't have anybody before you to tell you, hey, here's how you do this. Here's kind of what I did. Maybe that you can learn from this mistake, or you can change, and it'll be easier by doing this. And there's none of that for any of us because we're all older. But just there is always that worry that something will happen and I'll be a state away, or there's a worry that I can't be there as a friend anymore and the communication will get cut off. But it's knowing that I'm going to try my hardest to keep the relationship with both of my younger sisters, not just the one with MPS, and I'm going to keep fostering this relationship and putting my all into it to try and keep, even though we're a state away, and I'm not going to be able to come home as much because of band season and everything I'm working for, but knowing that I'm still going to be there in their lives, and I'm going to try my very hardest to keep being present in that relationship.
That's great.
Same with Rebekah. Like, there's always just going to be those concerns. You know, I'm nervous, I'm scared. We're all scared, we're nervous, but we're so excited. And I feel like for me, you know, being the oldest, like, I feel like there's that sense of pressure that since we're the oldest, I feel like that, for me specifically, I'm going to be the oldest and the first one to go to college, and probably the only one that will go to college. So there's that pressure right there showing me, like, you know, yeah.
And you're staying home, yay?
Well, it's 30-minute drive, but staying at home. My mother is actually going for her respiratory nursing stuff, or respiratory therapist, and she will have to be at school in the morning. My classes start at 11, so I have to drive my brother to school because he doesn't want to ride the bus. And that will also, just being there, helping my family is.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's great that you can do that. How many of these family conferences have you each been to?
This is my second one. I attended the one in Minneapolis.
Okay. Jasmine?
I've been to the one in 2013. I think that was the last one we attended. We've been to, you know, a few like concerts as well. So.
And this will be my first one.
Okay. How have you utilized or enjoyed having a MPS community, or when did you even become aware that there was an MPS community beyond just your experiences with your MPS sibling?
Well, as far as the MPS sibling community, a couple days ago,
Okay.
getting to meet them for the panel.
It's been a recent development then. Okay.
I was never connected whenever she was first diagnosed, and then going to the conference the last time a couple years back, I didn't feel comfortable going to the sibling groups because it was still kind of new to me. And I went to the child care, and I was hanging out with kids there, and that was overwhelming. And so it's still building and still getting there for me personally. So.
I'm glad you connected.
In 2013, I think that was our very first conference, and that was the one I think located in Boston. And I met some of the older siblings like Jeremy Mask, Haley, Liliana, some of those older siblings, and it was awesome to see like those older siblings, like they just became like your mentors and like your superheroes, and it was awesome, and yeah.
Well, for this being my first one, I never had I never been into the community as well before now, but right now, I like this so far. Like, just
It's okay.
the community is great, and my parents do talk to some or keeps in touch with some of the MPS kids in our state, but I might join again next year to one of these again.
So can you all share your newfound connection?
Well, Gabby and I found out that not only were our siblings diagnosed whenever we were the same age, but we live 30 minutes away from each other. And I think that's pretty cool that we now have that connection, somebody reachable in a driving distance and having that connection. And then she's still from the South, still kind of nearby, and just being able to know that there are people out there that went through the same thing I did. And I didn't have that connection until getting to meet them, and I think that's really cool.
So the MPS Society has made some efforts for making sibling connections, but it definitely sounds like some additional work would be desired to move that program forward. And maybe, you know, when we do a lot of efforts to connect families together, we probably need to be looking beyond that and looking at some siblings. What would you all think about something like that? If you had been connected earlier, what do you think? Do you think that would have made your experience different?
We were kind of talking after the group last night, having a mentor-mentee program almost with the siblings, because as an older sibling, I would have loved it whenever I was younger to have an older sibling go and like make that connection, even if it was online, maybe calling once a week or something after that first diagnosis. And as an older sibling now, on the kind of not necessarily inside of it, but I've had that time to mature and grow through it, and I know how to deal with my feelings and emotions and just that perspective. I'd love to help a younger sibling going through that now, and the newer people coming in. I feel like that would have been so helpful for me whenever I was younger.
Last night we were talking, and I think we discussed since the new families get like a huge packet from the National MPS Society, like having like a letter from like one of the siblings now and sending it to the sibling with that new family, and just having like their contact information and all that so they can have that mentor. I think that was also a great addition as well to that too.
Yeah, we talked to about in the older sibling session, and most of them really like the idea that we can provide more information for the siblings.
And I think some of that has been informally done, but what do you think that the MPS Society could do to be more engaging, maybe perhaps upon initial diagnosis? What additional suggestions would you have?
We were also asked to maybe think about a care package for siblings and what could go into that. And because I was 11 whenever my sister was first diagnosed, so you can't completely understand and you can't even pronounce or spell the word mucopolysaccharidosis type 6 for quite some time. It took me like 2 years to figure out how to spell it and say it. So just maybe a book that wasn't all the fancy medical terms, because all we had were the papers given to our parents. I'd done research projects for several years now, the most recent being, I think, about a year ago, and I interviewed Leslie for it, and I only had that interview and the pamphlets my mom had, which are super doctor terms that I don't understand. So having a book for maybe the siblings that would be aimed at the younger siblings, and it didn't have all the fancy language, but it was still informative, so they can know what's going on too, because I think that would have helped me a lot, just not seeing all the large pamphlets with big fancy words that were very overwhelming for both my parents and whenever I looked at it and said, no, I'm not going to read that.
No, I'm not reading that.
Just something for the siblings.
I think things have gotten better. Like Nathan Grant, like that Siblings to Our Mission, he has his own book. There's a sibling book. And for me, I think that was that one book that really helped me understand what MPS was and kind of got me through it. Like, there wasn't big doctor terms. There was more like leveled down terms on that book. So.
Yeah, probably for people who are new, we can, like, I heard something about like Zoom, how we can get some families and talk to their experience to the people who are new to everything. And I think that will probably help a lot.
Great suggestions. Thank you. And you've been recruited to help out. Could you maybe share with us maybe just a really memorable, sweet, funny experience that you've had with your MPS sibling? Just something that stands out for you that was special.
Like between her and I?
Yeah.
So
Does that not happen? I mean,
yes, of course it does. I'm just trying to figure out what the question was.
it is siblings now.
This past year, my sister switched schools and she transferred to Owasso Preparatory Academy, which is a school that meets 2 times a week, and the other 3 days of the week are homeschooled. So that helps a lot more for her needing her infusion and the fatigue that comes with MPS. And so through that, she then had a band program that was their first year, and I went and became an intern there and volunteered 2 hours every week after school, 1 day a week, and I got to go and do what I love with my little sister and getting to make music with her and help a small 10-person band coming from one that's about 300 kids and public school, and going and being able to just get to share my love of music with not only these other kids but share that connection with my little sister. And just something about making music with other people really connects you in a way that nothing else can, and that being my passion and getting to share that with her especially was just a phenomenal experience for me.
Sounds awesome.
I think this is more of a funny story, but recently this past summer, if you know Dominic, he does not like getting water on himself at all, even if it's just like a drop. So we were at the beach, and he had his water cup in his hand, and I guess when he took a sip, like a couple little spots of water got on him. And so we were at the beach, and that happened, and he decided to take his shirt off. And the next thing we know, he's stripped down naked right in front of everyone. That's happened more than once, but I think that's definitely a funny story too.
That's a good one.
One memorable moment. My brother, he's again our super supporter. And this past year, when we were marching to our stadium for the football game, our director even allowed him to march with us. He loves supporting the band and the football team. And now I get to stand on the sideline and cheer alongside him for my sister, who will be going through her 2nd year of band. So it's just, I like seeing him happy like that.
Those are good memories. I love the stripped down naked one. That's sweet. I think we've still got a little bit of time, and if it's okay with you, I wouldn't mind kind of reaching out and seeing if anybody has any particular questions for you. You all comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Putting you on the spot. So, anybody have any particular questions? Go ahead.
What advice or what would you tell to siblings that are experienced what you guys experienced so many years ago? Any advice that you would implement to someone else?
It's okay to not be okay. I know the attention is on your sibling all the time, and it's okay to not be okay as well. It may not be as physical as theirs, but your emotions and your feelings are valid. And telling people is so important, and getting the help that you personally need to be okay is so important. And making those, like telling your parents, I'm sad today, I just maybe need a few minutes, and maybe I need to talk to my counselor at school today because I'm having a bad day. That is okay. It's okay not to be okay. And for years I personally struggled with that, but learning that it's okay to not be okay, that has changed my life.
I love that. We were talking to, or I was talking to a friend last night, and the one thing, like the one biggest advice he gave me was, we live in a world that's so defined. Be that one person or that sibling and be undefined. I think that was just the best advice, I think, that I will just carry on for the rest of my life. And
Yeah, and the parents will always make time for each of the children, even though one might need it more, but they will always make time for the ones who are not in the situation themselves.
We have another.
Obviously, you have a lot of positive experiences, and it seems like this has made you a more compassionate, understanding, inclusive adult or young adult. Are there memories that you have where you like felt resentment towards your parents or resentment towards your sibling? Because that's like, not only am I trying to deal with my MPS child, but I'm like hyper aware of his older sibling because I feel that she takes on a lot and doesn't know how to express it to me because she feels like she's maybe burdening me, or she doesn't want to put that stress on me because I'm already dealing with it so much with him. Like, do you have any memories of that as a young child? She's 9, so I mean.
I think maybe some resentment or guilt feelings.
I wouldn't say I never had resentment, but I did feel a little bit guilty, but at the same time, I don't have the typical guilt as most siblings would that it should have been me because she's adopted. We're not biologically related. It never could have been me. Well, it would have been like a 1 in a cajillion chance, but it wouldn't have been me, right? So I never felt that kind of guilt, but I did feel the guilt that I can't take it away and I can't fix this, and there's nothing I can do except bring awareness to what she has and tell people and tell my story. But I never really felt resentment because I knew what she was going through was hard, and what I'm going through by witnessing that is hard, but I don't think I ever really felt resentment for that.
I think growing up, I just kind of, I understood, kind of the situation growing up. At some point, I kind of just learned how to keep my feelings within, and in a healthy and unhealthy way that helped me get through high school and middle school. But sorry, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Any type of guilt, resentment.
Guilt. In some way, I did feel guilty, like it should have been me, it should not have been him. Like seeing all the medical trauma, like just going into the hospital, he just felt traumatized. Like, what are you gonna do now? He calls anesthesia mouth, and it gives him trauma. He's had 30 sedations in his life, and it gives him that medical trauma. And sometimes I feel guilty, like that should be me, like going through that, not him. And
Yeah, being the oldest, it's just hard to see him in that state and the effects of it. Again, I'm the oldest with my sister falling, and we're both healthy girls, and with the one boy, he has these issues. So I try my best to help around the house and not only take care of my brother, but also take care of my sister, like going places now. Being the one to drive, I had to drive her to rehearsals while my parents have like work or even have to go to the appointments for my brother. So feeling guilty is just one thing, but it's just try to help the best you can with the parents and the siblings is all I have to say.
But you don't feel burdened by that. You're not like, I wish my situation was different. I wish I could have a normal sibling and my childhood could have been normal. Or
Well, I think we all wish that our sibling wasn't sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
But
something that
it's
you're holding on to daily, and it's causing all this anger or.
No.
I think that's what she wants to hear.
You feel better about the situation. So.
think maybe we have one more question, and then we'll wrap up.
Is there anything that your parents did or you wish they would have done that helped you or would have helped you cope better as a child, as a young child?
Well, something that my parents did that I always really appreciated is we always had mommy-daughter dates or daddy-daughter dates, and they would take us out for lunch or dinner, and we would go do something that we like to do, and they would take only us. It wouldn't be my other sister or my sister who has MPS, it would be just me. And I got to talk and tell them how my day was going and how they truly invested in my life. And no matter what I was doing, whether it was band or choir, they made sure that I was supported just as much as my sister is supported in the things that she has to do. But in difference, it's what I want to do. And I've always felt the support. They did a great job, in my opinion. They're sitting right here, but and they did great. Like,
You have
truly,
to say that.
I don't have to say that, but they did great in what they did. I don't think I would change anything because I was never a parent of somebody with MPS, so I'm only seeing it from the sibling side. But as a sibling, they did make me feel important, and they did help me do the things I wanted to do and made sure I did feel like I was still important.
I'm with you on that, Rebecca. My parents are very, very supportive. I think the biggest thing that helped me cope was they were always there. Even if we were at the hospitals, they were always there. They were always willing to, take me out to dinner or just get out of the hospital with them or something. They were always at my performances, my games, you name it. So it was just always being there. I think your presence is the best thing that will really help.
Yeah, the presence really does affect us. My parents always go to, or most of the time go to our games, either sports, band, or even just any school activities. Also making sure my brother's also getting any support that he needs. So just as a parent, the support is really important.
Well, Rebekah, Jasmine, Gabby, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And I don't know how you feel about the label super sibling, but I think you all are super siblings, and that's why you get all your tags. Thank you all.
One more question for me.
One more question? Yes.
When your sibling hits you, you feel like you want to hit them back, but you know you shouldn't, so what should you do?
Maybe try giving them a hug,
Yes.
because maybe that's what they really need.
Or a fist bump or a nice high five.
Great question. Best question. Okay, we're done. I think he's gonna.
Well, it's time for a break, everyone. There's a 15-minute break with some snacks that are provided in the lobby. And we're going to join back here right at 3 o'clock, where we're going to begin our industry presentations. I think at the top of the hour is Takeda. And we'll see you in a few minutes.
Oh, yeah. I'm Kristen. Nice to meet you.
Hello, everyone. I know we have some people next door, and we certainly are having people that will trickle in, but this begins our session for our industry updates today, and we're going to start first with an industry update from Takeda. It's a great honor to welcome Tony Frangi, who's the Vice President and head of Takeda's U.S. Lysosomal Storage Disorder and Endocrinology franchise, which is part of the company's U.S. Rare Disease Business Unit. He joined the company in 2016 and has served both the U.S. and the corporate global roles. Tony holds an AB in Cell and Molecular Biology from Colby College and an MBA from Harvard Business School. He lives outside of Boston with his wife, Mindy, and 3 children, Grace, Olivia, and Ryan. And I am just proud to call you my friend, Tony, so come join the stage.
That's probably the nicest introduction I will get ever, so thank you. So great, thank you everybody. It's so great to be here and in person again finally, which is wonderful. Let's see if I can make this work. Thanks, Amy. Here we go, perfect. Just like Terry said, my name's Tony Frangi. I lead our U.S. Lysosomal Storage Disorders franchise that includes MPS II. So every time I have an opportunity to present in front of an audience, I like to tell a little bit about Takeda, who we are, and then also for this presentation, I'll talk a little bit about what we do in terms of R&D, what we do to support families that are on Takeda therapies today, and what we do to support the broader community. So for Takeda, yeah, here we go. Perfect, how am I doing? Yeah. All right, great, thanks. They didn't spec it for over 6 feet. So for Takeda, we've been around for about 240 years. And some of you have heard me say this before, but I think it's really important to describe who we are and what we do. And the best way to describe Takeda is that we're a patient-focused, values-based global company. And we're committed to bringing better health to people and a brighter future to the world. And very importantly for this audience, we're passionate about pursuing potentially life-changing treatments for patients. Now, here's the thing. You don't get to be 240 years old without some kind of North Star or guiding principle. And for us, that's really our values of integrity, fairness, honesty, and perseverance. And those values connect really strongly to how we guide our decisions and actions as an organization. So we try to put patients first. We work hard to build trust with society, and we want to reinforce a positive reputation for not just ourselves, but also our industry. In terms of what we do in research and development, and I know everyone here is very interested in this aspect of what each of the companies presenting today does. We have an R&D pipeline that's focused on 4 therapeutic areas. There's gastroenterology, neuroscience, oncology, and most importantly for all of us here is rare genetic conditions. So our approach is pretty agnostic in terms of treatment modality, but the majority of our work, I think you see here about 70% of that, falls across biologics, so enzyme and protein replacement therapies and cell and gene therapies. Now, rare or targeted patient populations are a major component of what we do. About 50% of our pipeline has orphan disease designation potential. And that just means really small patient populations like MPS conditions and ML. As part of that work, we also do a lot of partnerships. So if any of you follow Takeda in the news, you'll seen some recent development deals with research partners that help support a number of our developing programs, including those in lysosomal storage disorders and approaches that include gene and cell therapies. This year for us, we plan to spend somewhere between $4 and $5 billion in research and development. And that includes both programs with active clinical trials as well as early stage or preclinical research. And for early stage and preclinical stuff, that's not something we typically talk too much about until those programs progress and make their way into the clinic. So, as many of you know really well, back in May of this year, we announced that we made a very difficult decision to discontinue development of a program called TAK-609. Some of us refer to that as the IT trial. And for those of you who are maybe less familiar with this program, TAK-609 is Takeda's investigational intrathecal ERT for the potential treatment of pediatric patients with Hunter syndrome and cognitive impairment. What I'd love to just share with you guys is just a little bit more around that decision, and just know that it followed really years of additional study. We'd continued on our trials, and we did a lot of extensive review of all of the evidence. We also had discussions with health authorities globally. And the outcome of all of those conversations was really that the data were determined to be insufficient to support a regulatory filing. And we were unable to meet the evidentiary standard for regulatory approval. This is not a decision that we come to very lightly. And just also for those in the audience to know, patient care and continuity remains a priority for us. So we're continuing to make TAC 609 available to patients who are currently enrolled in the ongoing open label extension studies until an approved treatment option is available to address the cognitive symptoms of this devastating condition. Now, one of the things that I remember from yesterday's panel, thinking about Melissa's comments, and we just appreciate how important it is to have something really positive come from all the efforts and dedication that went into this program. So, what I can say is that we do plan to share all of these extensive learnings that we've had to help inform future studies for the potential benefit of patients and families. And even at the last World Symposia that was back in February, we continue to publish some of those results and some of those learnings. It's not one of those things where we look across and we say, well, all of this work and all of this dedication went for naught. The hope is that there is some legacy from that trial that we can bring forward. Now, separately, for those that are, again, following Takeda maybe in the news and listening to other company presentations here at the conference, you may notice another Hunter syndrome program in our pipeline chart here that's a partner program and being developed in parallel. And now I mentioned that we do a lot of active partnerships, and last year we announced a collaboration and license agreement with JCR Pharmaceuticals, who I think is going to be presenting next, to commercialize JR-141 in certain markets outside of the United States. Now, there's a separate agreement. This might sound like a legal disclaimer, so apologies in advance. But Takeda also will have the option to acquire an exclusive license to commercialize that program in the US upon completion of the global phase 3. Now, all of that just is to say, JCR and our colleagues there remain responsible for the program's development. So any questions related to that program, its progress, or anything at all, please direct those to JCR Pharmaceuticals. Now, while this has been a challenging year in many ways, I wanted to say how much we care about our Hunter syndrome families, and that's what drives us to follow the science and continue forward. We also continue to explore every available option to improve the treatment for these children. Now, there's so much happening right now. I'm going to move on from where we are from a pipeline perspective, because there's so much amazing technology that's going to be presented here today and this afternoon. It's hard not to be excited about it. But also maybe just because, as Terry and I have talked about this before and others, there's also patients that are on Takeda treatments today. So just to highlight a little bit about what we do right now. So one thing I really want to highlight is OnePath. Now, OnePath is Takeda's product support program. This is for eligible patients and caregivers to get personalized product support from a dedicated team. We've got, insurance and access support, treatment delivery, ongoing treatment support, and the folks in our OnePath team, are really amazing individuals. Actually, a lot of them are sitting here in the audience right now, and the rest are out supporting Camp Courage, I think, this week. So, maybe just a really quick mention of the different individuals that can support families and patients through their treatment journey. But we have patient support managers. These are like your go-to folks working through insurance, financial assistance, infusions. They also coordinate the rest of the team. We've got patient access managers. These are like insurance experts, really understand the specifics of an individual's plan. And then also we have healthcare educators who can help answer questions related to your condition and therapy. We also have Spanish language resources, as a lot of the folks that are here in the audience can definitely help out with. Now, if you want to get a chance to meet some of the people that support us through OnePath, we do have a table over in the side, so please go ahead and introduce yourself. I think they'd love to see you guys. Now, we know often, right, when it comes to treatment and access, there's a lot of questions that can pop up. So, please don't feel like you need to do it alone. Please go ahead and ask for help and asset support. Call in and talk to your patient support manager. So now, we also have not only dedicated support staff, but also we try to make online tools and resources available. So last year, we talked a little bit about this new initiative called My Life with Hunter Syndrome. And the idea, it's intended to help provide patients and caregivers with access to more information related to life transition stages. I think we heard from the adult panel earlier today, right, where we're thinking about transitioning from like our pediatric care to adult care, maybe schools, right? Maybe it's just other questions around, socialization and social networks. So anyways, we hope that folks will continue to share their stories and experiences, and I know there's more, hopefully really great content that's coming along. So, last is really just what we do, not just beyond our pipeline and our products, but to think about how we can support this community in rare conditions more generally. For us, we could think about we had our 240th anniversary last year, so we thought what a great time to talk about policy. And so that became a white paper to support U.S. policy opportunities for reducing the time to diagnosis for rare conditions. And for us, that came down to really 3 areas, right? You have widespread and equitable access to genetic screening, investment in centralized and specialized care for rare diseases, and improvement in the data landscape to help reduce the time to diagnosis. And what I'm super proud of, and you've been hearing about it throughout this conference, is this week's edition of MPS 2 to the RUSP. I mean, just amazing, amazing policy win. So we're so proud to have supported that effort and the work that was done by so many people that were here in the audience right now, in fact, and over the course of this week. And we're also very proud to continue to support that effort at the state level and start getting this thing into state screening labs, because that's the next frontier, guys. Sorry, the work's never over, right? But look, this is the first and what we hope is really many successes for patients and families that have been supported by the society. So thank you guys so much for that. And just maybe one last quick mention too is we also have a recent initiative that Takeda supported called the 100 Patient Project with Luna DNA and Genetic Alliance. And I know this has been really supported by both the society as well as Project Alive. And so thank you guys for that collaboration. It's, the idea is to get industry to collaborate with advocacy and the patient community to advance research. And so right now, the study is currently enrolling patients, and I know there's been a lot of information that's been here at the conference, but also if you have an opportunity, if you're an MPS family or interested in learning more, there is a table outside, and the folks from Genetic Alliance and Luna DNA are very happy to help you out. So lots going on. So trying to stay under 10 minutes is tough, but definitely don't want to take up too much of your afternoon. Hopefully there's been a nugget or two that you guys have found helpful. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Boy, that mic went high. Thank you, Tony. It's, again, an honor to bring up Matthias Schmidt. He has been a member of the JCR Pharmaceuticals team since 2020 and serves its clinical development, business development, and global business strategy divisions and the U.S. subsidiary of JCR USA. He and the JCR team are driven by a strong sense of purpose based on the recognition that all human life has equal value and that the genes we were born with are not a choice of lifestyle. Our greatest respect is for the families and caregivers who give their love and compassion to support their children affected with rare genetic diseases. And once again, I'm proud to be a friend of yours.
Thank you so much, Terry. What a wonderful and kind introduction. I want to say thank you so much for allowing us to be part of this family. There's a lot that we hear from parents, patients, caregivers, And what I want to convey is that your words matter to us. You educate us about the diseases, what keeps you up at night. And this, it does have an influence on our programs. Thank you for that. So my friends and I, we want to tell you a little bit about what is going on at JCR Pharmaceuticals. Who are we? I can tell you we all have 46 chromosomes as well. Like Tony, I have to make some legal disclaimers. Don't believe anything that we say. And we are going to mention a product that is approved in Japan but is not approved in the United States. So talk to your healthcare provider and don't listen to us, to me. JCR, who is it? We are a Japanese company, and out of the 800 people, 790 are in Japan, around five in Brazil, and half a dozen in California. I'm one of those who are in California. JCR grew up actually with growth hormone that they have been distributing for quite some time. And we do take pride that all of our products are actually, they're manufactured in-house. The biomanufacturing is done in Japan. And we have marketing in Japan, but we have global development. So my question to you is, have you ever asked yourself why enzyme replacement therapy doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier or doesn't go into the brain? There's an amazing invention from Mother Nature that is called the blood-brain barrier, and it prevents pathogens and toxic substances from going into the brain, except for alcohol. Thank goodness it does cross. However, enzyme replacement therapy does not cross the blood-brain barrier, and here is how we are trying to help the community and trying to make a difference. So the way it goes like this. The antibody, the blood-brain barrier, is really a barrier to bring large molecules across. But there's some molecules like transferrin, insulin that do cross the blood-brain barrier, and Mother Nature has invented a mechanism called receptor-mediated transcytosis to get those molecules across the blood-brain barrier. And we have developed an antibody. This is an antibody that can bind the same receptor and get transcytosed into the brain. And an antibody does not have any effector function, but if we put the enzyme to the antibody, we have a therapeutic. And to make it work even better, let me look for another enzyme. We put another enzyme on it, and it works even better. Does anybody want to adopt this guy? Okay. And what we finally end up is with this little guy called its cargo. The first molecule that got approved based on this technology is actually for the treatment of MPS II. It has been approved in Japan in May, and we are very happy how it serves the patients. And we are very happy to have Takeda as a partner for the globalization and a wonderful partner in the clinical development. Does anybody want to adopt this guy? Okay. But you won't get rid of them because I have another one anyway. So the postulated mechanism of action is it goes into the brains, addresses the CNS burden, but it also goes into somatic tissues and organs. It's administered IV, so it's one treatment for both, basically. So does it really work? On the left side, you see a biomarker response from a phase 1, and then the break, and then a phase 3 study. So those patients came in with high levels of enzyme in the cerebrospinal fluid. What you can see is a very nice reduction in the phase 1 study. At interim, they were switched back to idursulfase. The marker goes up again, and in phase 3, it went down again. And on the right side, you see that what's the impact on the liver and the spleen volume. In naive patients, there's a significant reduction, and in those ones pre-treated with idursulfase, we keep the volume basically stable. So it does work on the CNS, it does work on the somatics. Just want to tell you about one sibling case story. You see here 2 siblings with exactly the same genetic variant, and so the older brother. He got diagnosed later, and he was put on idursulfase, and you see in blue, he's kind of going the the cognitive trajectory very much like the natural history. But the younger brother was diagnosed earlier, put on JR141, its cargo, much earlier, and is actually developing still what we would call normal. Its cargo not only had an impact on the very young kids, and what you see is really the opposite of a spectrum. Adults between 25 and 45 years of age in Brazil, they had we call it a severe, Elsa Shapiro would say, a severe attenuated phenotype. So they were too strong to be severe, but too impaired to be attenuated. And what you can see here is that in 52 weeks of treatment, they made a very significant improvement up to many, many years in the Kaufman scale, indicating that even if you have a burden of disease very long in your life, you can still benefit from a therapy that does cross the blood-brain barrier. What matters to you, and probably also for us, even more, is it's summarized in an article written by Tony Daher and Ana Maria Martins in Brazil, where a father says how much it matters all of a sudden he can go to a restaurant and doesn't have to have a disaster plan in place, or the landlord kicks them out of the restaurant because the kid is not behaving well and they don't know what is the underlying condition. It's about the ability to socialize again. When the kid goes to school and hugs the teacher, and before the kid was biting the siblings, this is what probably matters more than 2 points improvement in a cognitive scale. And this makes us feel also very, very emotional. The history here was, I told you it was approved in Japan. We did a phase 2 in Brazil, and now we're doing a global phase 3 study in the United States and in Europe. The study is open. Here's just a snapshot of those trial centers that we have engaged and we want to engage or planning to engage. If you have any additional questions, feel free to stop by at the JCR table. We would be more than happy to speak with you. MPS 2 is not the only program that we are engaged in. So this is only the MPS portfolio, because it's an MPS conference. Another program that is in clinical phase 1-2 studies, we have finished in enrollment, is the MPS 1 study. And we are going to start a MPS 3A study beginning of next year. And I quickly want to show you a few insights into the phase 1-2 study. For the treatment of MPS 1, we had a initial phase where we dosed up adult SHAE patients, and in part 2, we enrolled patients of all kinds of spectrum, really from SHAE to severe untransplanted HERLA in Brazil to post-transplant MPS 1 in the United States. So what you see here is just a snapshot, the same biomarker that I've shown you for the MPS 2 study, the substrate in the cerebrospinal fluid. It goes down beautifully in all subjects, in all participants, even stronger actually than we have seen with this little guy. It's cargo. Does anyone want to adopt this one? So, don't worry, I have another one. So the safety of this molecule is also pretty good. It's more like, it looks like standard enzyme replacement therapy. There was, unfortunately, one serious adverse event resulting in death. It had nothing to do with the drug. It was basically complications from aspiration pneumonia. We all know it's a severe disease. And of course, we are feel very sad about this. Just very quick, my time is almost coming up. The last topic I want to